I'm going to try a quick upload using Photo Story 3, which for me is the best possible software for this. I've tried using other software. It's either not genuinely free and I have no money to buy other stuff, or it's very, very complicated to use and I have very minimal software skills. This is an LGBT sandwich from Marks and Spencer. I don't think gay people need specific LGBT sandwiches. I have to say that lettuce, guacamole, bacon and tomato are all very delicious. But let's suppose you're a gay Muslim or a gay Jew. You wouldn't be able to eat that. I think food should be just food and should be prepared from the best ingredients, value for money and good quality. I don't think food needs this type of marketing. UN predicts disaster if global warming not checked. That was from 1989. Rising sea levels, global warming is not reversed by the year 2000. They constantly tell us about threats that don't exist, terrorism, which they make themselves, ozone layers, millennium bug, HIV, etc., etc. People are very frightened. The public scare easily, as George Carlin so rightly said. All you got to do is tell them there's some germs out there and the public go into mega panic mode. It is pathetic, but they've been doing this for decades, in fact for centuries. They always do it and they always will do it. And unfortunately, the one thing we can learn about history is that the public never learn from history. Here we have globalist Prince Charles, a good friend of Sir Jimmy Savile, who was knighted by the Polish Pope, a tribute to Roman Catholics, just like his good friend Tony Blair. If you look at this particular image, what you may not see is the 666 above his head. There are 6 strands, 3 times, that's a 666, and there's also a interesting crown with the multicolored rainbow type thing. Apparently there's some symbolism behind that as well. Look for the symbols in the signs. They tell us. You're not helping anybody if you wear a mask. You look stupid, dysfunctional, degenerate, depraved and special needs. You might think you're being polite. You might imagine that you're helping. You're not helping anyone, and you're certainly not helping yourself. Masks are dirty, unhygienic, unnatural, and just plain stupid. Here we have a nice propaganda picture. Child lost to COVID-19. A Victorian child aged under 10 has become Australia's youngest person to die with COVID-19. Get it? With COVID-19. And although the headline says child lost to COVID-19, if you read a bit more carefully it says, however, it was revealed that coronavirus was not the reason for either the hospital admission or death. So in other words, the child did not die of COVID-19. A Persian friend of mine, or Iranian friend of mine, Iran and Persia are not the same. You can learn about that. It's a bit the difference between Netherlands and Holland. Anyway, this Persian philosopher said, those who don't want to change, let them sleep. I've noticed this. I've tried so hard to wake people up and to inform people about the world we live in. I haven't had any success. I probably don't have the personal charm, sophistication and deceitful nature that would perhaps make me more successful at waking people up, because people don't seem to want to know the basic truth. They just want everything sugar coated. They want all their pills, their poison, they want it sugar coated. I can't do that. Anyway, if you have time, I really recommend that you check out this great philosopher, Rumi, or I don't know how you pronounce his name, not being Persian. This is just an example of virtue signalling nonsense from KLM, Royal Dutch Airlines. What's interesting is the symbolism of this. If you look carefully, you'll see that only the bottom seatbelt actually works. And if this is quite amusing, I think they've shot themselves in the foot here psychologically, but the vast majority of people wouldn't even pick up on this. The bottom one is kind of male-female, and the other two are male male and female female. And although I've got no objection to people being gay, because a lot of gay people are very nice people, and frankly, it's none of my fucking business whether they're gay or not. That's their exclusive business. Transgenders, I have a very big problem with, because that is certainly not natural. It involves expensive surgery, often paid for by the public, or almost always paid for by the public, and hormones and other unnatural things. If you give a man hormones, he will become female, or he will become female-ish. He'll still remain a man intrinsically, but so I don't believe in any of that. If people think they're a woman or a cat or a dog or an elephant or a mouse or a staircase, it's a mental problem. It's nothing that should be paid for by the taxpayer. This is an example of a tractor or bulldozer used in extraction of minerals and things to make electric batteries. Enormous amount of energy is used to extract the stuff that is supposed to save us energy. When people buy an electric battery or electric car, they don't factor in the entire life cycle of that product. And of course, a lot of the energy used to provide energy for electric batteries is produced from gas, coal, and things like that. So it's not energy. It's not really what people think it is. You know, just because I could wrap a turd in some sugar coating, it would still basically be a turd. We haven't thought it through. Too much of this is virtue signaling. Just using the word green and eco and stuff doesn't mean it really is. Global cooling and global warming have been a feature for decades now. Time magazine, Newsweek and others run regular stories on the coming disaster, how we're all going to be up to our necks in ice, or up to our necks in dust or sand or something. Either the world's cooling down fast or it's heating up fast. But the bottom line is they just want to frighten us, and none of this is genuinely scientific. It's all just agenda driven. This is a UK app from HSBC. HSBC have a horrible track record in this kind of thing. Your DNA is your data. A shocking company. When an abuser controls your finances, they control you. I do agree that is true. I myself have become somewhat dependent on the state to help me get through the day. But I try to put my time to good use. I am not against assisting people. In fact, I am very much for it. But it's certainly true that the government are trying to make a cashless society and to get everyone addicted to carrots and sticks. The point about it being that eventually you'll be so dependent on the carrot that you'll have to obey. And this is the danger of our society, where there seems to be an endless amount of money sloshing around for all these furloughs and things like that. In the end, it's going to come back to haunt us. They say there's no such thing as a free lunch. An elephant appears any time a death is recorded as sudden adult death syndrome. What they do is they create new problems. They create new explanations as to why people are dying unexpectedly. And instead of perhaps investigating whether or not vaccines or these genetically modifying vaccines, RNA modifying, because I'm not a scientist, I never said I was, they just claim it's adult. They claim it's monkeypox, or monkeypox is never shingles, and people and children who die, sports people and people who get so-called sudden adult death syndrome, they don't know why. But the elephant in the room says that it may very well have something to do with the vaccines. The moon landing is something I've always found quite interesting, and I don't believe it happened. I think the evidence shows it didn't, but a lot of people seem to like the story, and it kind of amuses them. I find it very hard to believe that an astronaut is going to take his John Thomas out on the moon and have the world's first piss in space. But obviously in a vacuum with the immense temperature differences on the moon, so we're told, although the moon is almost certainly not as far away as we're told it is, but I don't really know. I haven't been there. I don't want to go there, frankly. I prefer to stay here on Earth. But I don't believe that such suits would be suitable for a genuine moon landing or spacewalk or whatever. This is Margaret Trudeau, who's Justin Trudeau's mother. She was a glamorous lady, and Justin Trudeau would possibly be considered a good-looking guy if he wasn't such a complete and utter arse. He's a bit of a shit, isn't he? Let's face it. But if you look carefully at this picture and you use zoom magnification, you can see that perhaps Margaret is showing a bit of her snatch, which I think is understandable, seeing as her son turned out to be a total cunt. This is from Twitter, where I'm constantly being banned and blocked and restricted for all kinds of different methods. COVIDvaccineinjuries.com have 47,000 followers. They just want to give information about people who've been affected by COVID vaccines. Should be pointed out that when thalidomide was there, presumably if somebody were to put up pictures of children who don't have any arms, Twitter would have banned them as well. And finally, this is the elephant in the room, one of the elephants in the room. This is a very quick slideshow. I apologise if I haven't done it very well. I'm very, very poor at technical things. It took me a long time just to get the software to download this using Photo Story 3 because my computer wasn't compatible and I didn't have all the plugins. But I think I finally managed it. The unvaccinated aren't dying. That is a fact. The unvaccinated are not dying. People who haven't been vaccinated are still with us. I am unvaccinated. I don't wear a face mask. I never have. I don't satanize my hands, and I don't socially distance. I've attended many demos. I try to live my life as normally as I can. Actually, I'd like my life to be a lot more interesting and exciting and dynamic than it is. Unfortunately, it isn't. I have to put up with it. I don't have a very happy life, I have to say, but I do my best to try and make my life meaningful by trying to get the truth out. But honestly, it's up to you to look for the truth. It's not up to me to tell you what to believe. I can't do that. Only you can decide if you want to believe the truth or not.